Hello and welcome. In our fast-paced world, filled with daily pressures and constant demands on our attention, it's easy to feel disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from any deeper sense of purpose. We often hear about grand spiritual ideals, like achieving enlightenment or cultivating boundless compassion. These concepts might be associated with serene figures like bodhisattvas, individuals who, in Buddhist tradition, dedicate themselves wholeheartedly to alleviating the suffering and promoting the happiness of all sentient beings. Perhaps this ideal sounds incredibly lofty, something admirable but ultimately far removed from the realities of our own busy, complicated lives. You might think, that's wonderful for monks in monasteries or saints of old, but what does it have to do with me? Navigating my job, my family, and my personal challenges. But what if I told you that the spirit of the Bodhisattva, this profound, compassionate way of being, isn't exclusively for spiritual superheroes? What if its core principles are not only accessible, but also profoundly practical and beneficial for every single one of us? Right here, right now, in the midst of our everyday existence. What if the path to becoming an everyday Bodhisattva is not about achieving instant perfection, but about a gradual unfolding, a gentle turning of the heart towards kindness, understanding, and active care? Today, we're going to delve deep into this very idea. We will explore how to demystify this ancient wisdom and bring the powerful, transformative essence of Bodhisattva compassion into the fabric of our daily routines, making our lives, and the lives of those around us, richer and more meaningful. So, to begin, what truly is this Bodhisattva compassion, often referred to in Sanskrit as Karuna? When we strip away the complex philosophical layers and look at its practical heart, it's crucial to understand that Karuna is far more than simple pity, which can sometimes carry a sense of looking down on another's misfortune. It's also more than just sympathy, which is feeling for someone. Bodhisattva compassion is closer to deep empathy, feeling with someone, but it doesn't stop there. It is an active, engaged state of being. It is the profound and unwavering wish for all beings, without exception, to be entirely free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And very importantly, this wish is not passive. It is coupled with a courageous and joyful determination to actively contribute to that freedom, in whatever ways we can, big or small. This deep compassion to Karuna is traditionally understood to be inseparable from wisdom or prajna. Why is wisdom so important? Because true compassion needs to be intelligent and discerning. Wisdom allows us to understand the interconnectedness of all life, the truth that my well-being is intrinsically linked to your well-being, and to the well-being of all. It helps us see the deeper causes of suffering, not just the superficial symptoms. Without wisdom, our compassionate efforts might be misguided, or even inadvertently cause more harm. For instance, giving money to someone with an addiction without understanding the deeper issues might temporarily alleviate a symptom, but could perpetuate the underlying problem. Wise compassion seeks to address suffering at its root. Furthermore, the scope of a bodhisattva's compassion is truly universal. It's not selective. It doesn't just extend to friends, family, or those who are easy to like. The ideal is to gradually expand our circle of care to include strangers, those with whom we disagree, those who have hurt us, and ultimately, all sentient beings. Now, this might sound like an impossibly tall order, and for most of us, it is, if we think of it as an immediate requirement. But the path is one of gradual cultivation. In our own lives, can we start by simply trying to extend our understanding a little bit more each day, even to those individuals we find challenging or frustrating? This doesn't mean we have to agree with their actions or condone harmful behavior. It simply means recognizing their inherent humanity and wishing for them, too, to be free from the suffering that often drives negative actions. Crucially, for us aspiring, everyday bodhisattvas, we must internalize the understanding that this profound journey begins small. It's not about waiting until we are perfectly enlightened or have unlimited resources before we start. The path of a bodhisattva is paved with countless small, consistent acts, with the intention to cultivate a compassionate mindset in the quiet moments and the ordinary interactions of our daily lives. It's about the quality of our presence, the intention behind our words, the kindness in our actions, moment by moment. It's also profoundly important to consider why cultivating this kind of compassion matters so much, not just for the world, But for us, the practitioners, the personal benefits are immense and often understated. When we genuinely cultivate compassion, we begin to experience a significant reduction in our own personal suffering, anxiety, and stress. Focusing on the well-being of others naturally shifts our attention away from our own preoccupations and worries, bringing a sense of spaciousness to our minds. This, in turn, leads to increased feelings of happiness, contentment, and a deep sense of fulfillment that isn't dependent on external circumstances. We start to build stronger, more authentic, and more resilient connections with others, fostering a sense of community and belonging, and perhaps, most profoundly, living with a compassionate intention imbues our lives with a greater sense of purpose, a feeling that we are contributing to something larger than ourselves. So please remember, engaging in the practice of compassion is not a selfless sacrifice in the sense of self-depletion. It is a path of profound self-transformation and flourishing. Now, let's move into the heart of our discussion. What are some tangible, practical ways we can begin to cultivate this everyday Bodhisattva compassion? How do we translate this beautiful ideal into concrete actions? One of the simplest, yet most radically profound acts of compassion available to every single one of us is the practice of truly listening. In our hyper-connected, yet often disconnected world, the gift of our full, undivided attention can be incredibly healing. When you listen to someone, try to do so without constantly formulating your response, without interrupting to share your own story, and with a genuine curiosity to understand their experience from their point of view. This means listening not just to the words, but also to the emotions behind the words, to the silences, to what is unsaid. Imagine a friend is sharing a difficult problem. Instead of immediately jumping in with advice, unless it's explicitly asked for, try just being fully present, offering a safe space for them to express themselves without judgment. This kind of deep listening validates their experience and communicates profound care. You can practice this with your children, your partner, your colleagues, even with strangers you encounter. It costs nothing but offers an invaluable gift. Next, let's consider the immense power of small, everyday acts of kindness. Bodhisattva actions don't always need to be grand, dramatic gestures that make headlines. More often, the path is built upon a consistent stream of seemingly minor kindnesses. Think about it holding a door open for someone struggling with packages, offering a genuine and specific compliment to a colleague or a service worker, letting someone go ahead of you in a busy queue when you're not in a terrible rush, offering to help a neighbor carry their groceries, or even just offering a warm, genuine smile to a stranger you pass on the street. These actions, though small in themselves, create ripples of positivity. They can brighten someone's day, ease a moment of stress, and remind people of the good in the world. Each small act is a vote for a more compassionate world, and it reinforces our own compassionate identity. Building on this is the active practice of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. It's trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see the world, even for a moment, through their eyes. When you encounter someone who is acting in a way that is difficult, irritable, or even hostile before reacting, try to pause and ask yourself, what might this person be going through that's causing them to act this way? What fear, pain, or insecurity might be underlying their behavior? This practice doesn't mean we excuse or condone harmful actions. Rather, it allows us to respond with more understanding and less reactivity. It helps us to see the suffering human being behind the challenging behavior. And this insight is often the first step towards a more compassionate response. Perhaps the person who cut you off in traffic is rushing to a hospital. Perhaps the curt cashier is exhausted from a long shift and personal worries. We rarely know the full story. Empathy opens the door to a more understanding heart. Our words, too, carry immense power. They can build up or they can tear down. A bodhisattva, an everyday bodhisattva, strives to use words that heal, uplift, and connect, rather than words that wound, diminish, or divide. This involves a conscious effort to avoid engaging in harmful gossip, to refrain from harsh, unconstructive criticism, and to steer clear of sarcasm that belittles. Instead, we can practice offering genuine encouragement, speaking words of appreciation, sharing positive feedback, and when we do need to address a difficult issue, speaking truthfully but always with kindness, gentleness, and a clear intention to help, not to hurt. Think about the impact of a kind word offered at the right moment. It can change the course of someone's day, or even their perspective on a difficult situation. And finally, within these practical methods, let us consider the vital importance of patience and forbearance. Known in Sanskrit as kshanti, life, by its very nature, throws challenges, frustrations, and disappointments our way. People will inevitably act in ways that test us. They will be late, they will make mistakes, they will have different opinions, and sometimes they will be outright difficult. In these moments, the practice of kshanti or patience is invaluable. When you feel frustration, anger, or irritation rising, the first step is to simply notice it without judgment. Then, try to create a little space before reacting, perhaps by taking a few conscious breaths. Remind yourself, if it feels appropriate, that everyone is fighting their own hidden battles, grappling with their own insecurities and suffering. This practice of patience is not about suppressing our feelings or becoming a doormat. It's about developing emotional resilience, choosing a conscious response over an impulsive reaction, and cultivating a heart that can hold discomfort without immediately lashing out. It's a continuous practice, a gentle training of the heart, and it's perfectly okay to struggle with it. Each attempt is a step forward. Now, as with any worthwhile endeavor, cultivating everyday Bodhisattva compassion will inevitably present some obstacles. It's important to acknowledge these and think about how we might navigate them. A very common obstacle many of us face is the feeling of, "I simply don't have enough time or energy. Our lives are already so full." This is an entirely valid concern. However, it's helpful to reframe compassion not as another item on our already overwhelming to-do list, but rather as a way of being that can be integrated into what we're already doing. For example, you can practice mindful listening while your child is telling you about their day, even if you're also preparing dinner. You can practice patience while stuck in traffic on your commute. It's often more about the intention and the quality of attention you bring to your existing activities and interactions rather than adding entirely new tasks. Even a few moments of conscious compassion can make a difference. Another frequent worry is, what if I open my heart and try to be compassionate, but I just get taken advantage of? What if people see kindness as weakness? This is a legitimate concern, and it highlights why compassion must be accompanied by wisdom. True Bodhisattva compassion is not about becoming a passive doormat or enabling harmful behavior in others. It is perfectly possible, and indeed necessary, to be compassionate while also maintaining healthy boundaries. Protecting yourself from harm, saying no when appropriate, and clearly communicating your limits are not uncompassionate acts. In fact, setting clear boundaries can be a profoundly compassionate act, both for yourself, as it preserves your well-being and resources, and for the other person, as it prevents them from perpetuating unhealthy patterns of behavior. Wise compassion understands this balance. Sometimes, the sheer scale of suffering in the world, or even within our own communities, can feel utterly overwhelming, leading to feelings of helplessness or burnout. You might think, what difference can my small efforts possibly make? When these feelings arise, it's crucial to remember to start small and stay local. You don't have to solve all the world's problems today. Focus on what you can do, right where you are, within your own sphere of influence. Even one small act of kindness, one moment of genuine connection, can have a ripple effect that you may never fully see. Think of compassion as a muscle that gets stronger with consistent, manageable practice, not by attempting to lift an impossibly heavy weight all at once. And very importantly, during this process, extend that same compassion to yourself. Be kind and forgiving towards your own limitations and struggles. Self-compassion is not selfish. It's the fuel that allows us to sustainably offer compassion to others. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So, to bring all these threads together, what is the core message we can take away? Living like an everyday bodhisattva is not about striving for some distant, unattainable state of spiritual perfection or sainthood. It is quite simply about making a conscious, heartfelt choice again and again to cultivate and express compassion, understanding, and kindness in the midst of our everyday interactions and activities. It is a path composed of innumerable small steps, a gentle orientation of the heart, available to every single one of us, regardless of our background or beliefs, right here, right now. The beautiful truth is that you already possess the seeds of profound compassion within you. They are an inherent part of your true nature. Our work, our practice, is simply to create the conditions for these seeds to sprout, to grow, and to flourish. Therefore, as we draw this discussion to a close, I want to offer you not a directive, but a gentle invitation. This week, perhaps even starting today, I invite you to consciously choose one small, manageable way to practice being an everyday bodhisattva. Maybe it's dedicating 5 minutes to truly listening to someone without any distractions. Perhaps it's performing an anonymous act of kindness for a neighbor or a stranger. Maybe it's consciously refraining from a critical comment and offering a word of encouragement instead. Or perhaps it's simply taking a few deep breaths and practicing patience when you feel your frustration rising. What is one small way, however simple it may seem, that you can choose to practice and embody compassion in your life? Starting today, or this week, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on this. If you feel comfortable, please consider sharing your thoughts or intentions in the comments below. Sharing can inspire others and strengthen our collective commitment to creating a more compassionate world. One small act at a time. Remember, every compassionate thought, every kind word, every gentle action contributes to a wave of positive change. If you found this discussion helpful or inspiring, please consider liking this video, subscribing for more content on mindful and compassionate living, and sharing it with others who might also benefit from exploring the path of the everyday bodhisattva. Thank you so very much for joining me today, for your time, your attention, and your willingness to explore these profound and practical ideas. May you walk your path with a compassionate heart,